Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM. Brought to you proudly by the Tennessee Wildlife and Resources Agency.
Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray. We are going to let John Gordon and Frank Barton in the studio today. They will have a dueling introduction segment, okay? They will both I haven't decided when we'll do what. But we're talking waterfowl this whole time, and both these guys are in here, and we're talking a lot of waterfowl on today's show. And I wanted to start it right out with a young man that I've known, I've written about, had on the show before, and then all of a sudden I realized that John and Cason Short are familiar with one another too, through John and Ducks Unlimited and Cason and his Bill Byers Hunt Club. First of all, good morning, Cason.
Hey, thanks for having me. How are you guys this morning?
We're doing good when we can talk about waterfowl. I could just turn it over to John and Frank and bow out. I don't mean to bow out. Frank thinks we're talking about the end of everything here, you know. So,
well,
but
you're right, Larry.
You and Cason know each other.
We do. Like I said, Cason, once again, man, thanks so much for hosting Ducks Unlimited Television. You know, we had a great episode put together, opening weekend of the spec season in Arkansas. You know, late October, we had Jimbo Ronquist from Drake, Brooke Richard from Higdon was there, and it was a real celebration of what those companies have meant for Ducks Unlimited and for DUTV, and tremendous hunting. That show should come out it'd probably be the fourth or fifth show, so that'll probably be early August, I would think.
Early August.
Yep.
Well, Cason, tell our listeners out there if they're not familiar with the Bill Byers Hunt Club.
Well, as we sit here today, it seems like, geez, John, it seems like 6 months ago you and I
I know it, man.
dealing with that hunt. These 60-day seasons draw on forever, but we're about to close down our 69th year.
69th year. That's amazing.
Yeah, pretty neat to think that we'll be celebrating a pretty big anniversary next year. So my grandfather started the place, opened the doors in 1953.
Wow.
He originally bought 1,800 acres of green timber there, and through evolution and agriculture and conservation and everything else, kind of got pushed into agriculture when we dropped to a two-duck 20-day season there in the early 60s.
Wow. Yeah.
So we've seen a lot of trends come and go over the years, but we're still here.
And you're located, tell them where you're located.
We're actually just northeast of Hunter, Arkansas, about 2 miles outside of Hunter. If you're familiar with Interstate 40,
yes.
Would be just north of Brinkley.
And so if anybody has a pulse on what a season's like, tell us what it's been like for the Bill Byers Hunt Club.
It's been, I guess, a little like I anticipated. I was a little nervous because of the drought. That typically means that a lot of birds overfly the state. I think we've seen that this year with Louisiana numbers being up like they are. So a little apprehensive about that. Dry years are always a little alarming. The weather really hasn't done very well for us since, maybe the early week, the first week of season or so.
Yeah.
Seems like we don't get any consistent weather. We got one freeze there over Christmas, and then it rains every 2 or 3 days.
Yes.
The sun never shines very long. It's just one thing after another.
He sounds like a duck hunter, doesn't he? I mean,
well, it's the truth, though. I mean, this season more than any I can remember in the last few. Yeah, the no consistent weather at all. It changes every single day.
And what I don't want to get into what we might blame that on, because that's a whole different show or anything. But I know no one's more optimistic, and I've said this for years, than a duck hunter when it comes to starting a season. And Cason, you have grown up in this sport. You've seen it, and I know the things that have changed. You just mentioned something that some of my listeners might say, did he say 20-day season and 2-duck limit? I said yes. I mean, are we going to see changes anytime, you guys, Frank, John, Cason? I mean, we've been in this liberal season for quite a while. I remember when we went to that, and boy, everybody was going nuts. So let's talk here on this round table, so to speak. Cason, you want to lead out?
Oh, I will, but I think John may be more in tune to that than I am.
Well, go, John. He's passed the buck to you. I mean,
Larry. Yeah, and I've had this. Working for DU, I've had this conversation. With some people who are, their fingers on the pulse.
Yes.
Of what's happening in North America's waterfowl population, and It's really hard to say. COVID wiped out the survey for 2 years, and we knew
Yes.
the mallard populations were down.
Yeah.
It was substantial. There was a couple of million birds off because of a lot of drought conditions in that deal. But then some species were up big. Blue-winged teal. Blue-winged teal season was phenomenal. I mean, the early season teal was incredible. The green wings are holding strong. Lesser scaup, increased in numbers. Northern pintails are still, struggling some, but I think that's really related to a lot of nesting behaviors that they have. But everybody's optimistic, but we're all waiting for the shoe to drop because it's been such a long time since we've had any kind of restricted seasons at all.
Yeah.
So we're just, we're all kind of waiting. When is that next 30-day 3-duck season coming down the line? Because it can't last forever.
Yeah. You agree with that, Cason?
I do. I agree with that. I think, a lot of us that are a little bit older remember when waterfowl management, it seemed like we changed something every year.
That's right, yeah.
It was just all the time changes, and now we've gone 24 some odd years now with these season regulations, and it just, I don't know, my mind tells me it's time for a change. But I'll say this, I'm not sure that it's a population issue as much as it is kind of timing. I mentioned to my father-in-law the other day, we were talking about January, and he made the comment that, man, they used to kill ducks really good in January. I was like, well, yeah, but we only hunted to January 5th or January 10th. We've got piles of data that shows us that the mallards are paired up in mid-December.
Yes.
Well, now we're trying to chase them to the end of January, and it's no wonder they don't want to listen to us. They've already found a mate, and they're not interested. So some of our struggles and some of our frustration could be kind of around the timing of our season, how late it runs, and not so much the amount of birds. We're seeing plenty of ducks, but they've been hunted for long enough now. They know what's going on.
And Frank, you're in one of those areas that good and bad. You've seen the drought situation. You've grown up in East Arkansas there. What's your take on that, Frank?
I was surprised that they didn't change the season last year. After the 2 years ago, we were seeing ducks. We just weren't seeing many mallards, and I expected them to do something to change the bag limits, and I didn't expect them to change the season length, but the bag limits to put less pressure on mallards. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I can't tell that is what the issue is, as opposed to the timings. What Cason said, I think the timing has a whole lot to do with it for us, and they have been hunted a lot by the time they get to us.
And you're still out there.
But we'll see. Next year we're going to have a different season in Arkansas, and that's going to be that'll change things a little bit. It'll give us more days later in the season.
Will you hunt on Christmas?
Nope.
Okay. I just wanted
Christmas,
that touches the nerve.
Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. No, sir. You can deer hunt.
I know it. I wanted to hear you say it.
Yep,
okay.
You can deer hunt, but Lord, don't let them duck hunt. I can't do them duck hunting then.
Hey, we got Cason Short on with us from Bill Byers Hunt Club. I know, Cason, you guys have been very involved in the conservation side of this thing through your banding programs. And explain to our listeners some of the things you guys have done, though.
We've been really lucky or fortunate, I should say, to help out with some of that stuff. We put some GPS transmitters on white fronts, or specklebellies as they're known, and we deployed a number of units on mallard hens as well. So it's a lot of fun and really eye-opening to get in on the research side of things and really look at the resource from a different perspective than just a consumption-based viewpoint.
Well, I know one of my goals in life was I sure wanted to be in that plane when they did aerial surveys and how they counted them. One duck, there's two ducks, there's count their legs, count on those web feet, like that. And so I don't know how, John, that the aerial surveys, can you explain that to me? I mean, how that works?
As best I know, Larry, it's all based on math.
It's
right?
on, yes,
and
okay.
It's all based on what they see
and the potholes they go up there,
potholes and how they extrapolate it out into of course
Extrapolated. I've always wanted to get that. That's a word I've been wanting.
It's hard to fit into a sentence.
Yeah, did we work on that? But extrapolate.
Yeah.
So
we use that every day in our blind.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I know. It's sophisticated over there.
Yeah, Cason's going to hang up on us.
But,
no.
No, and the way I think, that I've talked to some of our biologists that it works is that, the boreal forest is a big mystery.
It is, isn't it?
They don't go up there and count, and you could be off.
Yes.
By big numbers. But they do the best they can with it, and it's all based on a formula, and they plug in the numbers they're seeing, and push it out to what they think the population levels are.
Yeah, and they're all up in that same little plane up there flying around.
Right. And U.S. Fish and Wildlife it does that, and from a DU standpoint, we were always kind of bracing for the count numbers to come out.
Oh, aren't we? Yeah.
Because we, if they're great, hey, people love it. If we're not, we get a lot of pushback. So
well,
it is what it is.
Pushback and everything. Cason, thank you, man. I don't believe in luck. Y'all go get them this last part of the season. But I hope everything goes well, and be safe and have a good hunt. Okay, man? All right?
Will do. Thanks for having me on.
All right, let's take a break on Outdoors and Larry Ray. Be right back.